Yo, what up? It's Majay back here with another WWE video, and it's going to be on 10 innovations nobody asked for. I don't know. I feel like they always change a lot of shit around, and it never ends up working out. But let's see what the list is.
Force feeding fans gimmick matches at the same time every single year to taking up precious time at the biggest show on the calendar with
Hmm.
concerts. Recent attempts at shaking up the status quo have often left WWE viewers scratching their heads rather than cheering in excitement. So I am Gareth, this is What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 WWE innovations that nobody wanted. Number 10, the 40-man Royal Rumble match. Bigger is not better.
Hmm.
Get your head out of the gutter. Giggity googa! In the year the brand split was finally put out of its misery, WWE tried to make us think that the roster was stacked by throwing 10 more wrestlers into the big over-the-top rope slugfest that starts the year. Everybody loves the Royal Rumble match, I know. So whisper this one as quietly as you can. The spells where it's just people half-heartedly pushing each other against the ropes, it gets boring. And this match, well, it had a lot of that. Way too much. Let's face it, there weren't a lot of contenders either. Maybe John Cena, possibly CM Punk. But if you thought anybody other than Alberto Del Rio was going over, then you were just young and naive. I forgive you, we've all been there. It is telling that nobody really says that they should try.
I was actually so pissed when Alberto Del Rio won that shit, bro. Oh, I was so sick of him at that moment. I was like 11, just like booing the shit out of him. I was just so pissed when I had my hands crossed. I was like, why did they choose this nigga to win? So, I mean, I didn't say why did they choose because I didn't even know anything at the time. I was just like, why did he win this? I wish somebody else won. I wish CM Punk won. Oh my God, bro.
This again as well. If you ask the average wrestling fan what they remember about this match, they're most likely to answer with, is that the one where Alex Riley got eliminated early by mistake? Didn't Santino Marella almost win? Or why does Michael Cole keep saying Diesel like that? It was weird. Within a year, the brand extension was over and the match was down to 30 again. It was definitely the right call after this match went on for way too long. Speaking of Rumbles, what do you think's been the greatest Rumble of all time? You let me know in the comment section down below.
Hmm.
Number 9, celebrity guest hosts. The idea of celebrity guest hosts on Raw seemed promising. WWE has sometimes done a great job of blending sports entertainment with popular culture. But yeah, this time it did not work. Most celebrities lacked wrestling knowledge, leading to awkward segments where they appeared out of place, and in the case of Jeremy Piven, got the name of WWE's second biggest pay-per-view wrong. Awkward. Besides, most of them were there more for promotion than a genuine love for wrestling. This alienated regular WWE viewers and failed to engage casual viewers. Was a fan of Black Sabbath about to watch 2 hours of wrestling because Ozzy Osbourne was hosting? Nah, unlikely. The focus on celebrity hosts often overshadowed the wrestling itself too. Shifting the spotlight to non-wrestling personalities detracted from the in-ring action and storylines. Fans tune in to see their favorite wrestlers perform and advance their feuds, not to watch a celebrity fumble through a poorly scripted segment. And the quality of hosts
Bro, the whole little celebrity shit seems so promising, like he said. But they're just so boring. Like, you get it. They try to appeal to kids when they turn PG, but like niggas don't even know who half of them motherfuckers was, even at that time. Like, I remember when a nigga named Wayne Brady came out and got RKO'd. I don't know what that was. I didn't know what it was until I like searched it on Google like later on. It was just some black guy from the other show that started before the Raw came on.
varied greatly. While some celebrities like Hugh Jackman and Bob Barker embraced their roles and actually delivered pretty entertaining segments, others were forgettable or even cringeworthy. This inconsistency made the guest host gimmick feel like a gamble rather than a reliable source of entertainment. While the idea definitely had potential, and even worked on occasions when wrestlers were in charge, celebrity guest hosts ultimately did more harm than good, didn't they? Number 8, Raw Underground.
Oh,
Shane McMahon's introduction of Raw Underground was an attempt to inject a more adult feel into Monday Night Raw. But the concept itself was, well, it was a bit confusing. The strange section of the show aimed to present a gritty Fight Club atmosphere, but it was a jarring change from the rest of Raw. The sudden shift in tone was weird for viewers, making it difficult to take seriously. The lack of clear rules and structure further muddled the segments, leaving fans unsure of what they were watching. Not only that, but Underground often featured quick, chaotic brawls that did nothing for storylines, making it feel like filler content rather than a meaningful addition to the show. The absence of real crowd reactions due to the pandemic also stripped away the energy that might have made these segments a bit more engaging. For the wrestlers, being on Underground was an obvious demotion too. Performers were thrown into segments with little context or purpose, which did nothing to elevate their status or build new stars, especially for those called up from NXT for these lackluster brawls. This misuse of talent frustrated fans who wanted to see their favorite wrestlers in proper
Making that face.
storylines, and nobody was disappointed when this experiment came to a screeching halt just after it began. Also, why on earth did they have dancing girls on the show in 2020? Oh, let's just pretend it never happened,
Oh
right? And while
God.
we're at it, let's just pretend the entire
You know what's crazy? They literally chucked that to NXT. It's kind of like good in NXT because Lola Vice is like literally the underground queen now, I guess. She's like 2-0, but like they always chucking everything to NXT.
Thunderdome era didn't happen as well. Why not? Number 7, Million Dollar Mania. Million Dollar Mania was an ambitious attempt to boost ratings by giving away large sums of money to viewers. But it was another misstep from Vince McMahon in a time when WWE were desperate to improve ratings. Vince announced the scheme in 2008 as the main event of Raw, where he complained about people who don't watch the show, then suggested if they still didn't tune in knowing they could win a share of $1 million each week, they weren't fans he wanted anyway. It was a real old man yells at cloud moment from the former chairman. From the start, the drawn-out segments on Raw just felt awkward and forced, especially when Vince made live calls to fans. What could go wrong? Oh, everything. Technical difficulties and awkward interactions were common and not funny, making the segments more cringeworthy than entertaining, and fans who were still tuning in didn't want their wrestling interrupted by clunky giveaways. The focus on cash prizes overshadowed the wrestling. Nobody was tuning in to win money unless they already liked WWE, so the whole thing was just pointless. This nonsense took up some of the longest segments on Raw, but thankfully it only lasted for 3 weeks. But that 3 weeks felt like 3 years. McMahon gave away almost $3 million across 3 episodes of Raw, though. Then found himself crushed by the set after it exploded for some reason. His accountant probably just said to pull the plug, lucky for us. Number 6, Bragging Rights. The Bragging Rights pay-per-view was supposed to be the ultimate showdown between Raw and SmackDown, but it quickly became clear that the gimmick was not going to work. Then there were the stakes, or lack thereof. The winning brand got a trophy, but so what? There were no real consequences or awards for the victors, making the matches feel as significant as mid-card filler. Without something tangible on the line, it was hard for fans to care about the outcomes. And nobody did. The event also had a knack for interrupting ongoing storylines. Wrestlers in the middle of heated feuds were suddenly expected to play nice for the sake of brand loyalty. This abrupt shift felt forced and took the wind out of rivalries that fans were actually invested in. And let's talk about brand loyalty, okay? Wrestlers were switching brands more often than they changed their ring gear here. Expecting fans to believe in their undying loyalty to a brand they might have just joined was a bit of a stretch. In the end, Bragging Rights was a forgettable blip on the WWE calendar that disappeared after 2 years. Those silly
Hey, why they got rid of this? Like when I was a kid, I didn't even know like bragging rights like disappeared like that. They kept this going on for like a couple of years and then just snap disappeared. I kind of get why it disappeared now. Like he telling me all of this stuff on it, it just seemed like so stupid. Rey Mysterio versus Alberto Del Rio. You forced to be nice to the nigga that just kicked you in the head. What?
and loyalty unfortunately kept popping up for a few more painful years. If you're enjoying this list today, then hit that subscribe button down below and you're gonna have so much more fun with more What Culture Wrestling videos. Number 5, the 24/7 Championship.
Oh,
WWE's 24/7 Championship was supposed to be a fun nod to the old hardcore title with its wild 24/7 rule. But it just did not hit the same way, did it? The hardcore strap worked because it was all about chaos and violent matches that fit perfectly with the Attitude Era's edgier vibe. The 24/7 belt, on the other hand, went full comedy, turning into more of a slapstick routine than serious competition. So inevitably, no one ended up taking it seriously. The constant title changes didn't help either. Sure, the Hardcore Championship had its own quick title swaps, but those matches felt urgent and dangerous, and the comedy was actually better. With the 24/7 title, it was like a revolving door at times, with champions changing through the most devastating move in sports entertainment multiple times in one night. I salute you, Mr. Miller. This definitely made it tough for fans to get invested in any story.
only thing that made the 24/7 championship watchable was that nigga R-Truth. R-Truth was just running around, entertaining the hell out of the whole thing, bro. Like, no wonder why he's like the 50-time 24/7 champion. If that still counts, I don't know. But like, my nigga was going around and just running shit, bro. He was like the highlight of the show. Vince McMahon didn't even know what the hell what he was doing, but when he was doing that shit with R-Truth, the whole thing like seems waitable.
Storyline or champion. Apart from our truth, we love that guy. The 24/7
Yeah.
segments often overshadowed more important storylines too. And while the comedy bits were sometimes funny, they also took up screen time that could have been used to build up other wrestlers. Fans who wanted serious wrestling content were left feeling very, very frustrated. So while the 24/7 Championship aimed to bring some unpredictable fun to WWE, it ended up being more of a forgettable gimmick that couldn't live up to the Hardcore Championship's legacy. Nikki Cross then finally dropping it in the trash, or at least trying to, sum the whole thing up
How do
really.
you even botch
Number
that?
4, Anonymous Raw General Manager. The Anonymous Raw General Manager was supposed to add some mystery and intrigue to Raw, but it quickly got tedious. The anonymous nature of the GM meant there was no accountability. Decisions came through emails read by Michael Cole, who uttered the most unbearable catchphrase each and every time. Without a human face to relate to or rally against, it was hard for fans to care about the GM's decisions. Watching babyfaces feud with a computer was the dregs of wrestling. Plus, the storyline dragged on way too long without a satisfying payoff. Fans were
That
dying
seemed
to
like
know who the anonymous
Oh my God, that seemed like that anonymous general manager bullshit was like years. It seemed like it was at least until 2012 because, bro. Like those years were just blurry, bro. It was just hard to keep up. Only thing that was good back then, John Cena, CM Punk, like Randy Orton, those are just some people that were just good. But like that anonymous general manager shit was so horrible. I used to hate when that shit interrupted the middle of the match. The lights start flashing, and then Michael Cole starts fucking talking. Oh my God. Bro, cheers to Michael Cole right now because he's doing his best, but like he was forced to do that by Vince McMahon.
GM was, but the reveal kept getting pushed back, leading to frustration. When the big reveal finally happened, long after the gimmick had disappeared, it was Hornswoggle, which felt more like a bad joke than a rewarding conclusion. The gimmick also messed with the flow of the show. The GM's emails constantly interrupted matches and segments, breaking the momentum and making Raw a marathon to watch. Also, having the main events of WrestleMania interrupted by that infuriating Apple ringtone does not get mentioned
Oh,
enough in lists of the worst moments in WWE history, because it was definitely one of them. Number 3, the Crown Jewel Championship. Right, so the Crown Jewel
worthless.
Championship was introduced as an attempt to make the events in Saudi Arabia feel a bit more important and have meaning. But let's face it, the belt just feels like a token gesture rather than a meaningful addition to WWE's roster of titles. And unlike other championships with rich histories and significant stakes, the Crown Jewel Championship is only going to be fought over once a year as well. Also, do you remember the greatest Royal Rumble title? Yeah, exactly. It feels like that again, doesn't it? Like that, it's just another thing that exists. And you get a fancy ring out of it. Yay. The biggest question people should be asking is, why are we supposed to care about this? Are we really bothered about who can collect the most rings? I know I'm not. The fact that WWE keeps bragging about how much the belt is worth despite releasing wrestlers every year due to budgeting issues is not a good look for the company either. Number 2, live concerts at WrestleMania. 99% of people use the live performances at WrestleMania as a bathroom break, probably. This doesn't include when wrestlers have been played to the ring, of course. Those performances are still to do with the matches, and they're often pretty awesome. Nope, we're talking about those performances that disrupt the show. The granddaddy of them all is already very, very long, and adding concerts only stretches that runtime. Fans are there to watch wrestling, not to see whichever music star WWE has heard of that year. Vince McMahon has always seen wrestling as a form of entertainment that goes hand in hand with popular culture. So it makes sense that he'd want acts like Flo Rida, Kid Rock, and Pitbull to bring extra eyes to the show. But who's really spending money on Mania to see 10 minutes of live music they could just watch on YouTube? After the rock and wrestling era, it wasn't until Mania X8 that WWE started having bands perform in mini gigs. Can you believe they had the audacity to get Saliva to play the event's theme song Superstar to open the show? Limp Bizkit played a year later, then WWE cooled off with the performances for a bit. By Mania 25, Kid Rock was doing a medley of his songs though, and WWE has never looked back. Neither did fans as they made their way from their seats to the bathrooms en masse. Number 1, stipulation-themed events. Stipulation-themed pay-per-views like Hell in a Cell and TLC, tables, ladders, and chairs were introduced so fans would get excited about seeing these bouts every single year. Ironically, that's what actually killed off some of their best match types. What a shame. The forced nature of these stipulations undermine the storytelling. Not every feud needs to end inside of Hell in a Cell, but the themed pay-per-views required it. This led to matches that just felt contrived, with stipulations shoehorned in rather than organically developed through the storyline. It also made for some of the worst Hell in a Cell matches in WWE history. The overuse of certain stipulations
Man, they did the Fiend so dirty in that match, bro. I feel like he was supposed to come across as a monster, but like they just ruined it that time. That whole match, man. Like when has there ever been like a disqualification inside Hell in a Cell? That's when you're supposed to go all out. Ugh, wrestling, man.
lessened their significance. Hell in a Cell matches were once rare and reserved for the most intense rivalries. By making them an annual occurrence, the mystique and specialness of these matches was completely diminished. Fans became desensitized to the spectacle and brutality, or lack thereof really, in the PG era, reducing their overall impact. Thank you so much CM Punk and Drew McIntyre for recently reminding us just how horrifying Hell in a Cell should be. Now this entry has focused on Hell in a Cell matches a lot, but the same happened for the Elimination Chamber and TLC matches as well. If a feud was coming to an end in May, you just knew it wouldn't have one of those
Boring.
stipulations. To give credit where it's due, Breaking Point was actually a good idea, having every main event match end in a submission. But for every one of those, there's a pay-per-view called Fatal 4-Way to tip the scales back into terrible.
Ah, I remember all those terrible themed like pay-per-views. At least they coming up with some new pay-per-views that like are actually like pretty good. But hey, all right, man. I'm gonna be out with that video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, it's free. And comment below what else you want me to react to. But I'm out.